Hey y'all, in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to connect to a higher power and your spirit guides. This is the first part to a series where I teach you exactly how I use spirituality to heal my anxiety, depression, and ADHD struggles. And here's the proof, y'all. This was me 13 years ago. Stressed, lost, and barely holding it together. Sometimes I wore all black, called it mourning, but really I was mourning myself. Then it got worse. Stress, emotional eating, weight gain. I could barely recognize myself. And no one knew because I hid it behind a smile. At my lowest, I thought nothing would get better, and I even considered ending my life. That's when I begged for help from a higher power, and that's when everything changed. As I deepened my spiritual connection to myself and my higher power, my mind healed, my happiness returned, and for the first time ever, I felt peace. So, how do you actually connect with God or your higher power and your spirit guides? I'm breaking it all down step by step in this video. First, you're going to learn how to ask for proof that God is real so you can feel divine energy working in your life. Then, you're going to learn how to invite your spirit guides into your life so you can learn who they are and how they communicate. Next, you'll learn who God is and what spirit guides really are beyond books and symbols. And finally, you'll learn how to recognize their guidance and let them help you heal. By the end of this video, you'll learn how to build a real connection with divine energy. All right, let's get started. So the absolute first thing you do is ask God to prove their existence. This is for those of you who may not believe in God, who don't believe in a higher power. I say God without this video, but this is open to whatever form of God you believe in. Even if you believe you yourself are your own God or that there is no God. This is open to everyone, and I'll explain more in detail what I mean. Asking for their existence is very powerful. So to you atheists, you might not believe in God, but I know you believe that there is a power out there that is keeping everything in existence going. That power you can see as a higher power, and you can ask that power to prove themselves to you. But it's very, very important, even for those of you who do believe in some form of God, to let go of any limitations of who you believe God is. What do I mean by that? Many of us, especially those who practice a certain religion, have put God in a box and believe that this can only be God and nothing else can be God. One thing that definitely changed my connection with God and helped improve my ability to manifest and have my prayers answered is that I opened my heart up to whoever God wanted to present themselves to me as. Let me give you some backstory. When I first asked God to prove to me their existence, I was an atheist at the time, or more like an agnostic maybe. I just didn't see the proof. I just didn't understand God at all. So during a time when I was having extreme struggles with my mental health, I was severely depressed. I called on to God in a prayer and I said, God, if you exist, please help me. Help me, because I was at a point where I was becoming very, I wanted to end my life. And I was not in a happy place. And so I said, God, if you exist, please help me. Help me heal this feeling. Help me feel better. But the whole point was I completely opened my heart to the idea of God. I didn't attach God to a religion, a spiritual practice, or anything because I really needed it. And God answered my prayer. God inspired me to take certain steps that completely changed the path of my life, from wanting to end it to finally getting the mental health help that I severely needed. I'm so grateful to that, and that helped me strengthen my belief in God after that experience. So some of you might ask for God or have done it in the past, and you're like, God never showed up for me. Where are they? They abandoned me. God doesn't love me. God didn't show up for me. God didn't answer me. I understand. Whenever you're feeling like this, you need to do some self-reflecting. Reflect on what you have done and what has followed after. This could be far back in the past or even now. And it could be even something so simple. I have seen amazing testimonies, and I even have some of my own, not having rent, not having food, not having something, and they pray to God, and literally almost instantly on the next day, God shows up for them. God answers their prayers. And some people overlook that. And the thing is, sometimes we want it to be answered a certain way, but it's answered a different way. And because it's answered a different way, we feel like the answer wasn't there. But it's like, no, the answer was there. It just wasn't in the way you expected. So you got to let go of your expectations. Sometimes we think we know better than God, but God knows better. And so God is giving us what we need in a package that wasn't what we necessarily ordered. It's better than what we ordered, trust. So definitely give yourself time that when you ask God for guidance to reflect on what answers might have come up. And let's say that's not even working for you. Ask for a sign. This is something I did very early on in my spiritual journey when I got really deep diving into spirit guides and all that stuff, is I literally asked for a specific sign. So one thing that you could do is you could send yourself an email or text message and you say, "Dear God," or "Dear spirit guides of high truth, compassion, love, and light, can you show me if you exist?" Or it could be if you exist, or you could ask for a specific question. Show me like 3 whatever in 3 days. Now, the sign should be kind of specific or kind of rare, but not too rare that it's almost impossible to find. For instance, don't say show me 3 red stop signs, because you see those everywhere. One good example I use myself is I asked for a blue egg. It was for some guy who was stealing from me. That's a whole other story. But I asked that if he stole something from me or he was lying to me, show me a blue egg within 3 days. And lo and behold, I saw the blue egg, which is crazy because I almost never see blue eggs. Even though a blue egg is not super rare, it's still not very common either. So that was very cool. And he truly was lying, and he did steal from me. Fair disclaimer, if you already started to form a connection with God and you're already starting to see signs, this might not work for you because they're just going to look at you like, what are you doing? Like, you know I exist. You know the answer. So the very next thing that I did, and this actually took years later, so you can do it faster. That's why I'm giving you the sauce, is you ask your spirit guides to be in your life. So what are spirit guides? First of all, let me explain that a little better. Spirit guides are any spirit that is a guardian over you that's not living. They are constantly guiding you, whether you invite them or not. But when you invite them, it does add an extra bit of oomph to it because you're giving them permission. They're very big on consent. And so when you give them consent to guide you, it skyrockets things. It improves things significantly. They go by many names. You could call them ancestors, guardian angels, spirit guides, spirit team, spirit watchers, or whatever. Sometimes your spirit guides might be deceased family members. It could be an ancestor of yours from many years ago. They could be popular deities. For instance, as I said in the previous video, mine is Lord Shiva. He is one of my spirit guides. Also, Ma Kali is one of my spirit guides. This person isn't necessarily my spirit guide, but they help me. Shri Ganesh, Lord Ganesh is a spirit guide. Another spirit guide of mine is Mara. Her name's Mara. And she shows up in my dreams a lot, and more in dreams later in the video. All of these people can help you significantly in your life. These spirit guides are very old, ancient souls, many of them, who have significant divine guidance. And so they're expressions of God. They have vibrated or leveled up to the level of God. Actually, many religions speak something about this, especially when you live or walk with God and you follow God's guidance for you in that path, you become a higher soul being. And when you die, you no longer have to keep coming back to earth. And you can choose to guide other people to get there. So they're like God because they're one with God. I will explain that a little bit more in detail later so you can get a better understanding. So the way that I invited my spirit guides into my life is I went to bed one night, listened to 963 hertz. I did pure tone. I listened to it on a volume that was very low because it's kind of a high-pitched tone. I'm not going to lie to you. And I listened to it throughout the night. And the next day, I said a specific prayer. I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was along the lines of this, and you can also modify it to yourself. I said, "Dear spirit guides of high truth and compassion, love and light, I ask that you come into my life. I give you full permission to guide me in my life, to keep me on my greatest path, to help me in all areas of my life." I said that with my heart full of gratitude and full acceptance. The reason why I say do God first and then spirit guides is because once you believe in the existence of God, it makes it a lot easier to believe in the existence of spirit guides because you realize there's something bigger than just the physical life that we're living. You're coming from a place of love when you're saying this prayer. It's very important to come from a place of love and not a place of fear, because vibrations are everything when you're dealing with spiritual energy. Okay, so when you're coming from a place of love, that is a direct connection to God and higher beings that are close to God, aka spirit guides. And if you don't know how to do that, just think of a time in your life where you've ever felt extremely loved, either by a parent or a caregiver or some authority figure, just a friend, just that feeling, that deep feeling of love and compassion in your heart. Harness that energy and pray to them in that energy, and it'll definitely make a huge difference. I'm telling y'all, this is what I did. Just do it. Trust me. Once you do that, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to keep a lookout for signs. And I also suggest you to do other things like ask the names of your spirit guides. They all have names. They have some type of identity that they want to go by. The crazy thing for me is, they know things, so they're already kind of telling you who they are before you even ask sometimes. And that definitely happened for me with Lord Shiva. Before I had even invited him into my life, he was showing me that he is my spirit guide. I started seeing pictures of him a lot. I was associated with some guy who had a dog named Shiva. I was just seeing him all over the place, and I didn't even really know who he was. When I asked for their names and the first name I heard was Shiva, I wasn't surprised. He knew I was going to ask him, so he was already trying to, wean it in there. I found out the names of my other spirit guides, and they have been very helpful. And one thing that I've noticed is how each of them play a role in my life and what they like to do. So, for example, Mara, she tends to come in my dreams a lot. She loves to, help me in my dreams. Lord Shiva was actually in my dreams before I even knew he was my spirit guide. And he has a certain look that he likes to go with. And Ma, the divine mother, I call her Ma, but she goes by multiple names. She has certain looks. And she also, I would see her in my dreams. So I want to get more into detail because I'm talking about different images and all that stuff. And I know that conflicts with some people who follow certain religions. But I'm just going to explain to you from my spiritual journey what I have learned. And I actually had a dream about this and I've seen it. God has many different names, many different representations of themselves, and many different looks. And you can even see this within these religions that say God only has one name and stuff like that. No one can seem to agree. It's either Yahweh, Jehovah, Jesus. It's like no one can agree on that. Allah is known by 99 different names. Everyone already says this in some way. And why is that? It's because God is not limited. A lot of people like to limit God. What I have learned God is, although God sometimes can have a form and an image if they choose that, I also realize sometimes they don't have a form and image as well. And sometimes it's just the energetic force. If you want to just look at God on the very basic level of existence, think about what fuels everything that is in existence. When you look at ourselves, what is everything made up of? Everything is made up of atoms on the smallest level of being that we have found out from science, right? And what energizes those atoms? All of those atoms have electrons and protons, which is the energy source of the atom. What is that energy? And that's where I say is God, because it does, something is energizing it. Something is making me form this form that I am and keeping me together instead of me just falling apart to a billion different little particles floating everywhere. Even if you don't believe in God in the woo-woo mystical sense, at least believe in the fact that there is an energetic force that is causing all existence. So quantum physics explains this a lot better. And same thing as Hinduism, because Hinduism explains quantum physics very well for the layman's mindset. And basically, all that is relative to what we believe is in being. The energetic force that is in all of us, that is what God is. God technically is the quantum field, if you're a scientific person or atheist, right? So outside of that scientific thinking, if you believe more in the energetic force, God is more of the divine love and energy. Almost every religion says this, and every non-religion believes in this, that God is the high vibrational energy. God is just being. God is. All that is a representation of God. So when you keep that in consideration, spirit guides are a representation as God as well. They have realized that. They have realized their true selves of being a representation of God in their high vibrational soul. So they're very powerful. In a way, they're basically the same as God. And the reason why I say this is one of the amazing things that I have realized. So personally, for you all, I practice Hinduism, and God had taught me this, and God had put me on a path of figuring this out, is that no matter what God you pray to, it's all the same God. And I know this because I've seen it. So I'll give you an example. For multiple years, I was struggling a lot with poverty. And so often I would do mantras, because I'm Hindu, to deities like Lord Shiva or Ganesh or Ma, many different ones. And I have so many testimonies, but I'm gonna share 3 major ones. The first testimony I have is one time I ended up going to a church parking lot, and I was already doing a lot of mantras to Lord Shiva. I think that's what had me end up going to that church parking lot. And while I was in the parking lot, I was just like, man, I'm so hungry. I want some food so bad. I didn't have any money for food. And I started just saying, whatever, I guess I just got to be hungry. And I did a mantra to Lord Shiva. I only went in I think I only chanted it 3 times. I started to hear him, and I had to use the bathroom. He was like, go to that building right there to use the bathroom. Like, I'm not even kidding y'all. I kid y'all not. Hear me out. I heard it as a thought in my head. He was so specific with that specific building. Mind you, I had never been to that building before. I didn't even know anything. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to there. So I got out my car and I went in there, and I was like, do you guys have a bathroom? And as I asked them, they said yes. As I asked them, I looked around and I noticed there was food, just food everywhere. And I was like, what is this place? And he said, it's a food pantry. And I was like, what? And I was like, wow, I was actually very hungry. I was looking for food, and they said, well, the Lord guides us to, whatever, something like that. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So I got some food. It happened again with Lord Shiva. And same thing, I was broke, I needed some money, whatever. And I was in I think I had been chanting for an hour. And then someone pulled up to my car, and I turned off the music that I was listening to. It was a mantra. And there was a woman, and she handed me $50. And I was like, what? I was like, why did you give me this? And she said, the only way I can explain it is that when the Lord or when God tells me to do something, I just do it. And I was like, oh! And then the last one. So this one is for materialistic stuff specifically. I have so many testimonies of this deity, Shri Ganesh, Lord Ganesh. So many, but I'm just going to share one because it was the fastest acting one. So one day I was so poor. I was super poor. I hadn't had any orders for a long time, and I was very hungry, and all I could afford was bread. So all I went to go to the store to get was a loaf of bread, and that's all I ate that day. And I was feeling really bad. It started with a prayer. I barely did the mantra. It was a prayer. I was like, oh, please, Lord Ganesh and Ma Lakshmi, please help me. I need some money. I'm poor. I just really want some food. I was crying and everything. My whole heart was open. I was so serious. I was talking to them because I believe they exist. They've shown their existence to me. I had full faith that they were going to deliver for me. And literally the next day, I go to this building that I always go to. And there was a man there who I had talked to briefly here and there during the elections, not the presidency, the ones before that. And he said, I have a gift for you. And I was like, okay. Or someone told me that he was looking for me to give me a gift. He gave me the gift, and I go to the bathroom and I open the gift, and it was $1,200. And he gave me a card, and on the card he said, God told me to give you this. Know that God sees you, something along those lines. And I was like, what? So these experiences made me realize that all the religious separation and thinking one God is this and the other God is the devil and all that, God really showed me that's not true. I put emphasis on this because I want everyone to have an open heart to whatever divine path they follow and whatever divine path anyone else decides to follow, because some things work for other people and some things work better for other people, and that's cool. At the end of the day, it's all God. And I think a lot of the confusion comes from people mistaking other things as God, like books. Books are inspired by God and they do have God's inspiration, but they're not perfect. They're physical and they're created by human beings. No matter what way you want to switch it up or mix it up in your mind, at the end of the day, it's a man-made creation that is a physical thing, and it cannot compare to God's greatness. And when you make a true connection with God, you'll realize that God is so much bigger and that no book can truly tell you who or how God is. So keep an open mind. Some of the things you will learn about God if you embark on this journey are going to conflict with things that you might have learned if you are a part of a religion. But you have to keep in mind that God is greater than any book. God is greater than any place of practice. God is greater than any scripture. God is a spiritual being. So that spiritual connection is what is going to get you closer to God. So as I said a little bit before, one of the things you're really going to need to do is look out for signs. Angel numbers was the first thing I started to see when I started to open up my heart to the guidance of my spirit guides. And the main ones I saw was 11, 22, and 33. These are what are considered master numbers in the angel number world. I actually have an entire document of like all the angel numbers I've seen and what they have meant for me. And if you want access to that, I'll tell you more in detail about that at the end. When you're seeing master numbers, this is a sign that your spirit guides are trying to reach out to you, because they are ascended masters. So ascended masters are what I explained earlier, these spiritual energies that are representations of God, because they're high souled beings now. Some people think angel numbers are the devil because they're not in these religious texts, because people think these religious texts are God. Their brain cannot disconnect the fact that it's a book and it's not God. Let's say this book was a perfect representation of God, right? The thing is, when these books were written, numbers weren't as prevalent as they are now. Back then, they probably didn't have address numbers like that. They didn't have telephone numbers. They didn't have prices that you ring up on at the store. They didn't have all these numbers, or clocks, digital clocks with numbers. They didn't have all these numbers. So God is not going to use that as a way to speak to you or to communicate a message with you, because it was irrelevant at the time. But things change, and God is going to change. God always changes. I think people think of change as a bad thing, but change is not a bad thing. We change all the time. It's every single day we're changing. Every single day we shed more skin cells and become a newer version of ourselves. And so angel numbers are one ways that God communicates with you. And I have been seeing them for almost 6 years now. I can tell you without a shadow of doubt that there's nothing demonic about it. Seeing these numbers have helped me significantly in my life. So your spirit guides are going to portray a lot of messages to you, very important messages to you through angel numbers sometimes, and understanding what they mean is going to be very beneficial to you. So one way that you can learn it better is to keep a documentation of the time frame that you see certain numbers, what events passed, etc., and write it down, what they mean. And I see sometimes people say, oh, I see the angel number, it means confirmation. No, it's not just that simple. It has a meaning. It's a language. So think of it as a language. When someone's speaking Spanish to you, you're not going to say, oh, it's confirmation. Confirmation for what? Like, another thing that you're going to see in the very beginning is like coins and feathers, like coins of higher values just being in front of you out of nowhere, or feathers falling from the sky right in front of you. That's mostly what you're going to see in the beginning when they're trying to portray to you that I'm in your life, I'm guiding you, I'm helping you, etc. But as you get further along, you're not going to see it as much unless you start falling off and start like, oh, no one's caring about me, they're gone, they abandoned me. No, they never abandon you, they're still there. Animal omens is also something that God will do to communicate to you. As I said, the further along your journey you go, a little bit less you're going to see these signs, and that is because your connection to God and your spirit guides get closer and closer. And so they're not going to need the outside sources as much, because you're going to have direct inspiration from them. I can't explain it. You just got to experience it. Like sometimes I would see butterflies cross my path, like right in front of me, or turtles or other things. They all mean something different. You can look it up online. This is another way God is communicating to you if you're not getting their direct messages from them using your gifts. So as I said earlier in this video, once you've gotten to this point, all right, you're going to ask them to help you with your anxiety, help you with your depression, or help you with your ADHD struggles. If you're struggling with any of those things, ask them for help and know they're going to help you. Do not think of it as they're just going to sprinkle that into your brain like, ping, oh, I'm cured. No. In some aspects, yes, it will happen like that in some ways. But more likely than not, It's going to be that God will bring to you certain opportunities or people that'll get you there. And it's going to come very easy, amazingly. And this is why I'm so big on teaching people about a higher power. It's not about spiritual woo-woo, come join my cult or my whatever religion it is. It's not about that. It's about you having your personal connection to this higher power that I know is there, so that you can have a much easier path in your life. You can manifest with ease and bring things that you need in your life with ease. And when I say easy, I mean, you don't understand how easy I'm talking about. I mean, easy. Like, you should not have to work super hard for certain things. You just have to trust in this power. This power can bring to you things that you could never have imagined, and faster than you could have ever imagined. Matter of fact, you watching this video right now is a sign that your higher power is guiding you to where you need to go to get you to where you need to be and where you want to be. And speaking of that, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you subscribe to this video right now. Subscribe right now if you're enjoying this, because I have so much knowledge to teach you. I promise you, you will be able to heal your anxiety, your depression, your ADHD. It is not something that you should be struggling with. It should not even be a struggle. And it's not something that you should have for a lifetime or for many years. I know so many doctors or therapists maybe, and all these people, they will say, oh, sometimes you'll have depression forever. I don't even believe that's real. I believe the reason why they say that is because they want a lifetime patient, because it's more money in their pocket. I don't care for a lifetime patient. I care for a better world. And that is truly in my best interest for me, because it makes me a better person and a more fulfilled person. Because for me, having a world of people with so many mental health struggles, it makes the world not as fulfilling, not even just mine. That's not in our best interest. So if you're enjoying this video, please subscribe to this channel and let me know what you think in the comments, all right? So when you're asking for this guidance, it is so important to follow what they say and to follow the guidance. Many people with ADHD have this boost of energy, this boost of inspiration. And as I said in one of my previous videos, that we are very gifted to have this hyperactivity. Sometimes those bursts of spontaneity actually help us to get closer to where we want to be. Even if in the end it feels like it was a waste of time, it really wasn't. It was something to learn from. And a lot of times that is your intuition. When God and your spirit guides are guiding you, those moments are feeling like, oh, I gotta do this right now. Like, they feel like that sometimes because it's exciting. Y'all ignore the background sound. But they have this energy about themselves that's very just high. When they bless you with that knowledge, when they lay their hand on you with their divine knowledge, you just feel like, So those aren't necessarily bad things. So it's very important to follow that, follow those feelings. So one of the things that I actually realized for myself when I first started this journey is that asking for my spirit guides to help, they will block certain things from you in your life. They will keep you from going down the wrong path. And sometimes your instinct might be to fight it and push through it and your way through it like you're used to doing, but it's not going to work. And if you do end up fighting through it like that, sometimes you can lead yourself to a really bad, unhappy path. They're protecting you. At this point, you gave them permission to intervene in your life. So they're going to do that. They take their word as bond. They have your best interest at heart. So they're going to stop certain things. They're going to block certain people. They're going to keep certain people out of your life. They're going to inspire other people to block other people from your life. They're going to inspire other people to block certain things from your life. It's amazing the power that they have, influence that they have over your life. You'll be grateful for it. Trust me. I'll say this for example, and I know some people might disagree with it, but I know what I got going on here. For me, I'm pursuing this path of creating better videos and getting closer to the financial situation that I want. But, sometimes I have doubts and struggles, and I want to revert back to the old things I was doing, taking on jobs and doing all these things. Well, I actually did that when I first moved to Houston, Texas. I started doing something that I had done in the past and I didn't want to do again, but I really needed money really bad and I didn't know what else to do. And so I started doing DoorDash, and I ended up breaking down my car. I remember one day, this is how I know my spirit guides were blocking me. One time I was on a drive to deliver some food, and the app glitched and it showed me 2 cities from the state that I used to live in. And they said, turn down on, from North Carolina. So it said, turn down on Durham Street and then turn on Wake Forest Road or something. I was like, what the I'm in Houston. What are you talking about? It glitched. And because it glitched, it messed me up and it delayed me delivering the food and all. It was the craziest thing I had ever seen. Literally had never happened before, never happened again after that. And I was like, you know what? That's a sign that I am doing the shit from my past and I need to stop doing this. And so I didn't stop, and then my car ultimately broke down. So they blocked me from that. And ever since then, every time I try to apply to a job, and I've applied to many, I have not gotten any of them. But deep down inside, I know, first of all, I don't really want a job. And even when I did want a job, I still didn't want it because I know how my life is when I have a job and how it doesn't help me get better. Also, if I were to get a job, it's not going to be those jobs. So I know my spirit guides are blocking me. They're not allowing it to happen because this hadn't happened to me before. I apply to a job and I get it pretty quickly and pretty easily. You got to realize that they're going to block certain things from your life. And it's a good thing. Don't see it as a bad thing. Start doing what you actually truly want. And you'll see how easy the path will be paved for you because that is where they want you to be. That's where you want to be. So trust their knowledge, okay? So I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but many times, actually, I think almost all times, they will present themselves to you in your dreams if you're a very active dreamer. Their energy is very different from the other dream characters, and that's how you'll be able to tell them apart. You can also dream of low vibrational entities, aka demons, asuras, jinn, whatever you want to call them. But their energy is so different, and I'll explain that a little bit. So spirit guides or God or whatever, their energy is very active, very teacher-like or parent-like. And I also meant to mention that sometimes it's a woman and it's a man because God is both a man and woman. I know a lot of these religions say he, him, father, but it's not just he, him, and father. It's actually the mother as well. It's also a woman as well. They're kind. They can be fierce sometimes too, which can be scary, but it's not scary like a demon or a low vibration entity, which I'll explain later. It's scary because the energy is intense. Like, for instance, I once dreamed of Ma Kali and her energy was so intense, but she was beautiful and she sang beautifully. So it's like one of those feelings of just like, you could feel the power of them when you dream of them. You could see it in them, but they're also very loving. You can feel that love from them. You might even dream of being around them butt naked and it doesn't feel strange because they don't see your nudity, they see you. And there's no way I can explain that. You just have to experience it. If you ask them to do something, they will do it instantly. They're not going to hesitate. They're not going to play around. It's literally like, I'm not even kidding y'all. I've seen it many times. And they might even take you on a journey sometimes if you need. Regular dream characters, they're not going to be as attentive to you. I think this is because they're either a part of your subconscious mind or there are other people dreaming as well at the same time as you. And so y'all just in the same spot. They're not paying attention to you. They're in their own world. They might pay a little attention to you, but you don't feel that power with them. Then you have the low vibrational entities. So one thing I've noticed about them is they don't take on a very good form, meaning sometimes they're just a black blob, or they might not be a blob. They might have a face and all that stuff, but they're creature-like and they don't move very much. They're not very animate. They're not very powerful. They don't affect you very well. Now, sometimes I have had dreams where monsters would come after me, but those are usually your subconscious mind. But I don't want to get too much into that. I'm going to do a whole segment on dreams one day. They're not very powerful. You don't even want to talk to them really. They don't move very well. I actually find they're not able to move hardly. Actually, I don't know. It's weird. They're not, and I understand why. It's because those entities aren't very strong. They're not high vibe. Their vibrations are very low. And so they're barely moving. They're barely even in existence. One thing that I have noticed is, and this is a very powerful tool that you can use, is when you're having dreams of God and you see them, you can ask them for help in your dream, or they might just automatically help you. Usually they do automatically help you, but You can ask them for help in your dream or before the dream. So for instance, I did this very recently. I had asked for help for something specific before I went to sleep. And like 2 days later or so, I dreamed and I asked for that help in the dream. And I got help from one of my spirit guides. And she, took me on this little journey and she showed me where I needed to go. Even though I was afraid to face it, I ended up bringing up enough courage to face it, and that changed things for me. So you can do the exact same thing, I'm telling you. And you can help them ask them help for anything. They're limitless. You can see this in your waking day and in your dreams because they're there in a way to serve you, but not serve you as in serve a lower purpose for you. If you are seeking to better yourself, if you're seeking to remove things from your life, they are there to help you. They will help you instantly. They're not going to hesitate. They're not going to play around with you. They're not like regular people. They take those things very serious. So it's really nice to form a deep connection with them and serve them, or let them serve you. You end up serving them by serving yourself, if that makes sense. Anyway, ask and you shall receive. Literally, they live by that. Okay. Another amazing thing that deepens your connection with your spirit guides is to treat them like they're your best friend or your parent. Like if you can imagine the best possible perfect parent or best possible perfect friend, that's who they are to you. Treat them like that. And I really mean that. You can complain to them, bitch at them, ask them for what they want, ask them what they like, ask them about them, see how they're doing, how they are. It's not like an AI bot where there's no point of asking. Like these are living entities and beings, and they care. Basically, treat them like your best friend. And like I said, they're there to be like a parent to you, like a mentor. And so you can complain to them. I've done that, and they will help you with your complaints. Be like, man, I'm just feeling so bad. I feel awful. I'm sad. Nothing is working. Everything is this and blah, blah, blah. If you do that, they will help you. They don't want to see you down. They're there to help you, and they're waiting for you. Like I said, they're big on consent. They're waiting for you to say something. They're waiting for you. Like they're literally waiting, and they have all the patience in the world. But they're there. They're waiting for you. So you can complain to them about your ADHD struggles. You could complain to them about your depression. You could complain to them about your anxiety. And they're going to be like, you know what? I hear you and I want to help you. And they will. And like I said, keep an open mind for understanding of when they are trying to help you so you don't miss out on it. Very important. Very important. Another thing they're going to teach you is a level of love that you have never experienced, because they're going to love you like you have never experienced. There is no human being on this planet that can love you like they will love you. And I really mean it. I really mean it. They have a level of love that we just call in human terms unconditional love, that is so powerful and so strong that it will motivate you to become a better person, to improve yourself, and to be good for them. And also you can ask them to hit you with love. I love saying that, like, hit me with some love whenever you're feeling down. Like, even me saying that, I felt it. You can tell them to just hit you with love, to fill your heart with love, and they will. And whenever you're feeling really depressed, really down, and you're having those bad, those really bad thoughts of, maybe ending your life or something like that, just say, oh man, I'm feeling down. Like, please hit me with some love. Don't sleep on this. I'm telling you, it really makes a huge difference. It'll definitely give you some boost and more motivation, because they're teaching you love. They're teaching you how to love yourself, most importantly. And be very generous for them. I actually keep an altar. You don't have to keep an altar, because I don't even have one now, but I used to have one. I would give them things. So one thing that I love to do, ask them what they like, and even figuring out what they like. So for instance, one thing I realized Lord Shiva likes, and what he doesn't like. He doesn't really care for incense and burning stuff like that. He doesn't like all those smells. At first I was like, oh, this has to be a coincidence. No. Every time without a fail, I would burn like an incense or some type of anything, a candle or whatever, and do a mantra to Shiva, and it literally would go out. Like, it wouldn't even take long before it would go out. And I'm thinking, maybe it's just where I'm at or whatever, but if I did the same thing for like another deity, like for instance, Lakshmi, who loves those smells, it wouldn't go out. Like, it would burn all the way down. It was only with Lord Shiva, always go out. So I realized, okay, he doesn't like that stuff, but he does love marijuana. He loves that. He loves it. If you offer him, even if it's not like the flower, even if it's just the leaves, because I actually don't tell nobody, y'all, but I used to have a weed plant, and I would sometimes prune it, and I would take the leaves and put it in there. And he loved that. He loved it. He kept it alive for a long time, and it died very beautifully. Or sometimes I would take all my roach weed, and he don't care. He'll take roach weed. I took all my roach weed and I would offer it to him, and he would bless it. And I would smoke it, and I would have like, bro, my mind, like, he loves that stuff. So figuring out what they love, that helps a lot. He doesn't care for many offerings, so that's mainly the thing I give him. I know Ganesh loves sweets. He loves fruits. He loves laddu. You give him that, he's happy. He will bless you so fast. If you promise him that, even if you promise it, just promise it. You don't even have it, you promise it. He got you. I'm telling you, I've done this before. He loves that stuff. So figuring out what they love is awesome. And eating it, that's very important to eat it because they bless it. They're not going to do anything with that. And I've seen so many people who will put stuff on their altar and then they'll just bury it. Don't bury it. You're burying the knowledge. They bless it. You don't bury it. You eat it. Eat it. Okay? So when you offer it and you pray over it, or you do mantras over it and you show it love, not only is the love energy that you have coming from it, they also return that energy because that's the way the laws of the universe work, right? So they're returning it into that focused object, which is the offering. And when you eat it, you get divine knowledge. I've done this so many times, so many times. And it literally makes a huge difference. It skyrockets your knowledge and information and all that stuff. So definitely do that. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Being grateful to them and praising them is also very amazing. Just pure praise. Song is a beautiful way of praise because of the vibrations of your voice is amazing. Mantras and, just sounds and vibrations. They love that stuff. Showing any type of appreciation to them, any type of praise. It doesn't even matter how they look, whatever. It's not even about the vanity of it. It's about the vibrations of it. Because when you're coming from that place of praise of how they look or how awesome they are, all the things they've done for you and all that gratitude, they feel that, man. They feel that energy. You feel that energy. You're not just giving it to them, you're giving it to yourself as well. And so you're lifting yourself up and filling yourself up with that beautiful energy. And they're receiving it and giving back that beautiful energy. And it's just an amazing experience to have. It can even make you emotional sometimes. I do it sometimes and I cry. I'm a crybaby, y'all, honestly. So I would do that and I would sometimes cry tears of joy because I just feel that love in my heart for them and for myself because they've done so much for me, y'all. Man, I would not be here if it was not for them. I would not be here. And so definitely do it. And you will learn so much from them. They'll bless you with a lot of knowledge outside of the offerings as well. If you just asking you shall receive. If you just ask for how to do this, how to do that, they'll either, give you divine inspiration through whatever spiritual gifts you have, or they will show you it. Like they'll bring it to you, they'll show you it, they'll guide you to it, the answer. And take it, man, take it. You are forever learning. You need to have an insatiable thirst for knowledge. You are a forever student until you die. And even after you die, you will still be a student of life and of existence, of being. And knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And if you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not improving. So continuously learn. Never think you know everything. You always can improve. Always, always. And don't see it as you're not good enough. See it as you're good and you're getting better. Always see it like that. You're good and you're getting better because you always can improve. You always can learn more. You're forever a student, especially with them because they are filled to the capacity with knowledge. And I bet they're even still learning. So definitely keep it up, keep learning, keep asking, keep going. Always, 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 always learn. I'm putting so much emphasis on it. Learn. Did I mention that you always need to learn? One thing I want to say is very important is that there's no such thing as a coincidence. You will realize this the further along your journey you go. If you think something's coincidence, it's not, it's a sign. Start switching that. That word shouldn't even exist. Start switching your mindset from coincidence to sign. If you see something that seems like it's a coincidence, it's a sign, pay attention to it, decipher it, understand to it, listen to it, and act on it. Because over time, you will realize once you start waking up to the divine guidance of God and your spirit guides, that all these coincidences were actually just signs for you of your spirit guides, of God, or whoever telling you stuff. So keep on paying attention, keep on listening. Get rid of that idea of a coincidence. It doesn't exist. Only asleep people think that way. Okay? They're lost. You know better. That's why you're here. All right, so this one is very last for a good reason. And I say use divination cautiously. Cautiously. This is not a requirement, but I'm sharing this because this is what I did. And all I know is what I know and what I have experienced, what I have seen. And it did help me in some ways, but it can also not help you. So that's why I say with caution. There are so many forms of divination. Some are a little safer than others. The form that I did was verging on the not as safe. Yes, I'll admit to that. And that's why I say with caution. Okay? I'm not going to get too much detail, but the point of divination is when you're not very in tune with your intuition, your spiritual gifts, and the signs around you. And so when you need that little extra boost of knowledge, then use divination. One thing I'll say is I might actually do a separate video on this. I use pendulum divination. Do not just pick up a pendulum and start using it just because I said that. But if you do, stick to yes and no questions. Please, 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 and test it. But do not take everything as word as bond. Do not make major decisions off of it. Do not do certain things based on that. Just play with it. See it as a game. See it as fun. Notice the energy in your body when you use it. Notice how you're feeling. Do not, and I'm saying this with so much emphasis because I learned the hard way. Do not use any divination, especially the forms that use movement. You know what I'm talking about. When you're not feeling good, when you're hungry, when you're sad, if you're depressed, no divination. I'm sorry. It's off limits. Do not use it when you're not feeling good and you're any low vibrational. Do not do it. I'm not going to get into details why. You can imagine why. Just don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. The point of divination is to get to a point where you quit. Do not use it forever. And that's why I put this last, even though it was one of the first things I did. Because you don't need it. You don't have to do it this way. It's an option, but it's not a requirement. Okay? And eventually, quit it. Do not go past. If something ever tells you to stop or it stops working, quit it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop. If you don't, you will face consequences. I'm being so serious. I am not exaggerating. Just stop it. Okay? Whew, Lord, if only y'all knew. I don't want to get into too many details. Just. And very last, ignore religious fanatics. Listen, people who are deep and heavy into religion, not spirituality, religion, are lost. They don't understand what they're reading when they read their scriptures. They don't know who God is. I'm just going to put it that way. They don't know who God is. And you cannot listen to them. You're here for a reason. You found me for a reason. You cannot listen to them because they're going to try to talk you out of some of the things I'm saying. They're going to think that what I'm saying is the devil or it's demons, etc., etc. They don't know. They don't know. So don't let them stir you away from your calling. Same thing is like, as I said, I practice Hinduism, but I'm not going to do everything every Hindu denomination or sect does. I'm not going to do it because they're just following a group. For them, it's not about God as much as it is about community. For them, it's about community. It's about fitting in with the people around them. It's about being good in the eyes of the people around them. It's not about God. It's not about spiritual connection. It's not about their spirit guides. They have lost touch of that and they don't realize it. They think it's about God, but they don't realize how much they put God in a box. As I said in the beginning, they lump God into this idea in this box because of a book, because of what their church says or what their masjid says or what their mandir says or whatever the hell it is. They throw it in this little box and God can't come out because this is God, this is God, this is God. Oh, don't listen to them. Don't. You're going to mess yourself up. Don't. There have been times where I almost felt persuaded by some of them and I didn't like that. I didn't like what I was thinking. I was like, no, this is wrong. And it was wrong because at that point I had developed such a beautiful relationship with God. And who would I to be to abandon that? They've showed to me and proved to me things that these people could not prove to me. And one thing you'll notice about these religious fanatics is when you start talking to them more and more and getting to know them more and more, you realize they don't even have a connection to God. They don't have it at all. I experienced much better, bigger, amazing testimonies in spiritual experiences that far surpass anything they have ever experienced. They've never even seen God. God's never showed up to their dreams. God doesn't even hardly answer their prayers. And God isn't doing this and that. God is doing nothing for them. And yet they're so convinced. They're so convinced that this is God. This is God. You know why God isn't doing anything for them? You know why God isn't showing for them? Because it's not God they're following. They're following the man. They're following humans. They're following human beings speaking and stuff like that. This is just religious fanatics. This is not to say all, Christians or Muslims or Hindus or whatever it is that may be are like that. I'm Hindu too, but I'm very open. Like I'm not going to follow everything that the scriptures say, because at the end of the day, my connection with God is spiritual. My connection is purely spiritual. It started out that way. I started spiritual and became a Hindu. So my connection with God was pure and genuine beforehand. I wasn't born into a religion like a lot of people are. Listen to yourself. Listen to God. God is there for you. These people are just noise. And also, a lot of them will use fear to try to persuade you to following God. God is not fear. God is love. It's not of God that they're getting close to. It's of the fear of man, the fear of death, the fear of something. It's always the fear of something. It's not truly God. So definitely listen to your own intuition. Let God show up for you. I gave you the steps in this order for a specific reason, for that reason. And the last thing you want to do is unravel your connection with God because some fearful ass religious fanatic tried to get you to join their little fan group. All right, guys, that is this video. If you want to learn in more detail how to heal spiritually your anxiety, depression, your ADHD struggles, go to the link in my bio. Also, the angel numbers, link in the bio, where I have a free community with free courses, free everything. Sign up and you get all access to it for free and access to me for free. You can talk to me, ask me questions, do all these things. And you can even have an opportunity to work with me one-on-one. That part's not free, but the courses are free. We have challenges, questions to ask, exercises to do. So definitely check that out. It's the only link in my description. And subscribe to this channel if you love this. If you want to heal your anxiety, depression, ADHD using spirituality, your version of spirituality, and not someone else's, subscribe to this channel and I will continue to teach you how. All right, guys. Peace is yours. Peace is yours.